a looming environmental nuclear bomb in Utah. The mighty Great Salt Lake is drying up.
I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that the Great Salt Lake presents an existential crisis.
Potentially deadly down the road as this dust is filled with cancer-causing, naturally occurring arsenic.
So the predictions for these species are really dire. If we can't get water to the lake, this ecosystem crashes.
The Great Salt Lake Collaborative is a coalition of news media organizations, academic institutions, advocacy groups, calling attention to the lake, why it's so important, and why we need to save it.
For the Great Salt Lake Collaborative, we partnered on a local media project launched by Solutions Journalism Network Initiative, and they received support from the Knight Foundation.
Solutions Journalism Network reached out and asked if there were any wicked problems in Utah. And that group ultimately decided that we wanted to focus on the Great Salt Lake.
So initially I was skeptical and suspicious of the Great Salt Lake Collaborative.
Some of our staffers had questions. Wait a minute, we're going to work with someone who we think is our rival.
But I will say it's had a lot of benefits.
If I can't get a reporter to a meeting or to a story, but another member of the collaborative can, then all of a sudden we both have that content. All of us have that content.
When everybody's united, you have a wider range of resources, you have a wider range of viewpoints, you have a wider range of sources, and ultimately it benefits the same community that you're here to serve.
So one example of where the collaborative has really helped our reporting are the stories that we're publishing this week. We just sent a team of reporters from my news organization, the Deseret News, from our friendly competitor, the Salt Lake Tribune, and also from Fox 13. And together they went to California to collect interviews and video and images and to bring home this story of what struggling saline lakes in California were experiencing, the impact it had on those communities, and solutions that they're trying to find and implement there in California.
And the story map that we used was stunning. And it would not be possible for us to produce that story map on our sltrip.com platform.
And so I think that the goals we have of working collaboratively can hopefully reach further into our community than if we tried to tackle this individually. Without the collaborative, our news directors and reporters and videographers would not have had the opportunity to do that.
But it's a different shift in how we do journalism, and I'm kind of getting into it. Another great thing that the collaborative does is we get out in the community.
We did a lot of festivals in the summer, and we sat down and we talked with people about the Great Salt Lake.
And we had a trivia night.
We're doing events at public libraries.
We've hosted panel discussions with the experts.
We've done daily reports for media outlets about what's happening at the Great Salt Lake.
We've had farmers market booths that have been great, where I get to meet people and talk to them about it.
We have conducted tours for policymakers and community members at the Great Salt Lake. We have recorded stories from individuals throughout the state.
Being able to bring people together who care about something has also been a pretty powerful experience.
And also sign up for our newsletter. We have a newsletter.
The news side of the collaborative is really only half of it. Another really great benefit here is that we have partners in the collaborative who are researchers, who are in academia and education, who make the Great Salt Lake a focus of their work every single day. Storytelling is so powerful, and it leads to this collaboration between scientists and the community and eventually policymakers.
There are times that I have felt very frustrated about what we see at the lake and the inability to have that message received.
Being part of the northwestern band of Shoshone Nation, the Great Salt Lake is in the heart of our ancestral land. If we're going to solve the problem, it's going to take an indigenous voice as well as the science. Native Americans have a way of connecting here and not here, but it's through here is when you can affect change.
I made some efforts from my academic place in co-editing the first book on Great Salt Lake biology, co-writing the first children's book on Great Salt Lake to try to get the science to the fourth graders.
The collaboratives helped me touch hearts by giving me a voice. As a tribal elder, as a storyteller, give me the platform to touch hearts, and they've done that.
The academic book is now a really important resource for what lives in the lake and how the food chains work. The children's book is all over schools in Utah. Great Salt Lake Collaborative has really been a part of that momentum.
As we collaborate and weave together this knowledge, that's where real magic happens. And so the collaborative has really allowed me the opportunity to be a part of a team.
The Great Salt Lake Collaborative, I think, has made me a better scientist.
They did a survey asking Utahns how they feel about the Great Salt Lake and its well-being, and 80% are concerned. 73% also said they would like Utah lawmakers to address the issue.
We are starting to notice an impact, both from a policy level and on the street.
Is it time for more mandatory restrictions on what people can do with water?
Well, look, you've covered this well, Ben, and many of you in this room, and I appreciate the collaboration that is happening there.
I want to thank our friends in the media for the great work that they've done related to the Great Salt Lake. They've really spread the message about the Great Salt Lake in a way that has engaged Utahns and helped bring us together, and I think that's a great role that they could play.
And this is an indication that what we're sharing through this collaborative is having an impact.
The way it's shaping the news around Great Salt Lake is so beautiful.
I'd say the most gratifying part of the process has been watching reporters, journalists, videographers, photographers from other organizations and ours get to work together. That's really fun.
I mean, if you want to see how important the work the collaborative is doing, just look at who we are. We're competing news outlets who have come together to do a joint reporting effort to try to tell the community what kind of a situation we're facing with the Great Salt Lake.
I'm just ever so grateful to the media members of the collaborative for letting me be in the room sometimes.
It's been great to see it actually reaching people where they're like, oh, I know this, you know, and I've seen them share it on Instagram, or I've seen them share it on Twitter. Information is knowledge, knowledge is power.